Hello ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do 8.6a. Today we're going to solve rational equations, and to do that we're going to use a variety of different methods. So really what I'm going to do is just show you a bunch of examples. Alright, so first example. Let's say, and I'm only going to write this once because all of them are going to say solve. I'm going to have 3 over x plus 1 is equal to 9 over 4x plus 5. So to be able to solve this rational equation, I'm going to cross multiply. So let me get my different colored pen. So I'm going to do that process. So I'm going to do 3 times 4x plus 5, and then I'm going to do 9 times x plus 1. So to solve this, I need to distribute. So I'm going to get 12x plus 15 is 9x plus 1. I need to put all like things on the same side, so 12x minus 9x is going to equal 1 minus 15. So that gives me a negative, 3x is equal to a negative 14. What the heck? Oh, that's a 9, my bad. I'm thinking, what did I do wrong? Scribble, scribble, scribble. This is a negative 6. So then I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and x is going to equal a negative 2. Now there's a couple of things that you need to be really careful with when we're solving rational equations. You always want to look at your answer and look at your denominators. So if I substitute a negative 2 in here, I would get a negative 1, and I would get a negative 8 plus 5, so a negative 3. Anytime your answer makes the denominator be 0, that would be an extraneous solution. So if your solution, spelled it wrong, makes a denominator be 0, N-O-M, that means then that your solution is extraneous. Such a cool word, E-O-U-S, so it's extraneous. So you always want to check those solutions to make sure that it's not extraneous. All right, let's do another one. Okay, and again, the directions are going to say solve, so I'm not going to write solve every time. This time I'm going to have a negative 4 over x plus 3, and it's going to equal 5 over x minus 3. So again, I have a ratio on each side of the equation, so I am going to cross multiply to solve. So I'm going to get 5 times x plus 3 is equal to a negative 4 times x minus 3. Now it doesn't matter which side of the equations you put your individual pieces. Sometimes I do it one way, sometimes I do it another. If I distribute 5x plus 15, it's going to equal a negative 4x plus 12. Put my x's together, so 5x plus 4x is going to equal 12 minus 15. So 9x is a negative 3. Divide by, so I get x is a negative 1/3. And again, I want to substitute it back into my equation to see if it makes either of my denominators be 0. It does not. And if I were being thorough, I would run that number through my equation to make sure that I actually get a good solution. All right, our next example is a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to have 5 over x plus 7 over 4 is equal to a negative 9 over x. So there's a couple of different ways that you could do this. Because I really have pretty simple denominators, I'm going to put the x things on one side and take this, oops, I guess you can't see it, sorry, my bad, and take this to the other side. So I could have managed the fraction on the left first, but I think it will actually be easier if I just move this expression and then move this one to the other side. So I'm going to have 5 over x plus 9 over x is going to equal a negative 7 over 4. Now it's pretty happy. So I'm going to have 14 over x is equal to a negative 7 over 4. I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to get a negative 7x is 4 times 14. And 4 times 14 is 56, I think, if I did my math right. Okay. This is interesting. All right. So then I'm going to solve for x, and x is going to equal 56 divided by a negative 7. Okay. All right. And 7 times 8 is 56, so x is going to equal a negative 8. Way easier than a way that I did it in my notes, you lucky dogs. So I put these two fractions together first, and then I cross multiplied, but as I sat and looked at it, thought, nope, that would make way more sense. So it actually turned out to be a fairly polite solution. Again, I want to check my solution and make sure that it doesn't make a denominator be 0. It's good. The world didn't explode. So we can move on and do another example. Okay? This one is going to be 1 minus 8 over x minus 5 is going to equal 3 over x. So again, before I can manage anything, this one's not especially pretty. I need to be able to put the 1 with this fraction. On the left-hand side, my lowest common denominator is x minus 5, so I'm going to multiply x minus 5 over x minus 5. So if I simplify the left, I'm going to get x minus 5 minus 8 over x minus 5. And that's going to equal 3 over x. And then if I simplify one more time, I'm going to get x minus 13 over x minus 5 is going to equal 3 over x. Now I can cross multiply because I have a fraction is equal to a fraction, so we call those a ratio. So I'm going to do x times x minus 13 is equal to 3 times x minus 5. So if I simplify and distribute, I get x squared minus 13x is equal to 3x minus 15. Well, notice that I have a squared, so that means I'm going to have a quadratic. So I want everything on the left. So I'm going to do x squared minus 13x minus 3x plus 15 is equal to 0. I get x squared minus 16x plus 15 equals 0. It's a quadratic. I can solve by factoring, and I'm going to get x minus 15, and x minus 1 is equal to 0. So I'm going to get two solutions. I'm going to get x is equal to 1 and 15. And remember, now I need to look back at my original equation to make sure neither one of these solutions makes either of my denominators 0. So I would get a negative 4 and 1, so 1 works. And if I put a 15 in, I would get a 10 and a 15. So both of my solutions check out. All right, I have one more example for you, and then we'll go on to our problems, okay? So our last example. So this one's going to have 6 over x minus 3 is going to equal 8x squared over x squared minus 9 minus 4x over x plus 3. Okay? All right, so there's a couple of different ways I can do this. So what I'm going to start with is this side I'm going to leave alone, and I'm going to manage the right-hand side. So I know that this is x plus 3 and x minus 3. My lowest common denominator on the right-hand side is going to be x plus 3 and x minus 3. So I need to multiply this fraction by x minus 3 and x minus 3. Okay? So I'm going to write my 6 over x minus 3. My first fraction has everything, so I'm going to leave it alone, over x plus 3 and x minus 3. And then here's my negative 4x squared plus 12x over x plus 3 and x minus 3. So if I simplify, I'm going to have 6 over x minus 3. 8x squared minus 4x squared is going to be 4x squared plus 12x over x plus 3 and x minus 3. So the top has 4s and 12s and x's and 3's, and I'm assuming that I might be able to simplify this. So I'm actually going to reduce the top. So in the top, these two, and I'm just working on the right-hand side right now, both have a 4x in common. And if I take it out, I get x plus 3, and that's over x plus 3 and x minus 3. So now, my x plus 3's cancel, and I'm left with 4x over x minus 3. Okay? Alrighty. And I think I did that right. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is, let me rewrite it so it's not spread out quite so far. I have 6 over x minus 3 is going to equal 4x over x minus 3. If I cross multiply, I'm going to get 6 times x minus 3 is equal to 4x times x minus 3. So if you'll notice, if I divide both sides of the equation by x minus 3 and x minus 3, they cancel, right? So I'm left with 6 is equal to 4x, so x is going to equal 6 divided by 4, reduce that fraction, and I get 3/2. And there's my solution. So again, I want to go back to the very original problem. So where is it? Way up there. And I want to check that 3/2 will work in this one. Yes. These, yes. So this is actually my solution, and we're good to go. All right, now let me give you your problems. I think they'll fit on the bottom of this page. Okay, they're all going to say solve and check for extraneous, T-R-A-N-E-O-U-S, solutions. Okay, number 1 is going to be 7 over 2 plus 3 over x is equal to 3. Problem number 2, 3/2 plus 4 over x minus 1 is going to equal x plus 1 over x minus 1. Problem number 3, 3x over x plus 1 minus 5 over 2x is going to equal 3 over 2x. And then problem number 4 is going to have 5x over x minus 2 is equal to 7 plus 10 over x minus 2. So there are your 4 problems. Good luck with those. Be careful with your work, and I will see you tomorrow.